written production of the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated and is intended for the sole purpose of informing our Recreation Center members. Any duplication, copying, transmission, broadcast, or use, including electronic and social media, is strictly prohibited without the prior written consent from the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated. Thank you for watching.
Good morning, everyone. It's at top of the hour now. We'd like to get started if we could. Let me put my eyes in here so I can proceed. All right. Will you please rise if you can, and will join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, welcome to our exchange. I'm Tom Foster, President of the 2025 Board of Directors. This meeting is audio and video recorded by the RCSC. Management and staff, please be advised there is to be no recording of this meeting by individuals. And please take out your cell phones or electronic devices and check them to make sure they're in silent mode. It's a good reminder. And I'll try to remind you to turn them back on when we wrap up. We do not tolerate verbal or physical abuse towards any member, any guest, visitor, employee, or staff member. Violators will be asked to leave the meeting. I would like to introduce the Board of Directors, our timekeeper, and our management personnel. I believe Director Collins is not with us this morning. Director Gray. Here. Director Brissett. Good morning. Secretary Rickmeyer.
Morning.
Vice President Nettestein.
Good morning.
Oh, sorry. Treasurer Borski.
Morning.
Director Keiss.
Good morning.
And Director Ruff.
Good morning.
And our timekeeper will be Secretary Rickmeyer, and she has extra duty today as we are going to try to implement our take a number experiment. So we'll explain that a little more here in just a second. On the management side, we have our General Manager, Matthew D. Lazansky.
Good morning.
Support Finance Senior Leader, Kevin McCurdy.
Good morning.
Facilities Senior Leader, Mike Whiprud.
Morning.
Golf Senior Leader, Brian Duthu.
Morning.
Did I skip Mr. Dermeyer? I did. There he is. Sorry about that, Mike. Assistant to the General Manager, Debbie Giles. And the Board Coordinator is Marcia Johnson.
Morning.
We also want to recognize Alan Kleinhaus, Carla Young, Miguel Jackson, and Doreen Rafferty, who are our audio-visual engineers. And I hope you picked up one of the documents off the back table, and we'll get to that in just a few minutes. So first of all, for those of you who were Philadelphia fans, congratulations. And those of you who were Kansas City fans, our condolences. Please be civil to one another. It was an eventful evening, and we went through the potato chips pretty quickly. So next, I do want to remind you, because we do consistently get reminders from you, the members, of our 3-minute policy. So if you are planning to come up to speak, please try to hold that to a 3-minute requirement. Speaking of getting up to speak, one of the suggestions previously was to try to implement a take the number policy, and we're going to do that. So there is a machine in the back to take a number. we would be expecting you to try and, even if you're coming up for a second time, to go and grab a number just to keep the integrity of the system all the way through the meeting, so that we're not having a line of people in, somebody saying, I was here, you were there. If you got a number, then you're next. Okay. We do have one more thing I wanted to address before we get started here, and we have certainly seen a number of comments on social media and elsewhere of folks who have expressed some interest in how the board reviews its employees. And so I wanted to just give a little bit of a high-level overview of that, and there's a couple pieces here. So hopefully it won't add to confusion, but it might. And Director Nettesign is right here, and she certainly can go through some of the other issues if it doesn't stray into the area of violating an employee's privacy. So in 2024, we implemented, this is the board here, we implemented a responsibility matrix that outlines who's responsible for specific activities for the RCSC. And while there are some board documents that address responsibilities of the board employees, the board has found supplementing those policies has been helpful for the employee as well as the board. Basically, this matrix that was developed identifies certain duties and then identifies who performs those duties, who's accountable for those duties, who has to be informed about what's planned to happen, who has input into those decisions, and who has final control or veto power over that. So the board has collaborated with the general manager and senior members of the senior management team and come to agreement on what those categories are and the responsible parties for all of those things. The matrix is reviewed every quarter to judge how the matrix is working and to add or delete categories if any are identified. The upside of that is we do believe we have seen a lot of improved communication between management and the board. So we're hopeful that this is going to be of assistance going down the road in keeping good lines of communication between the board and management. Second thing would be annual performance reviews. And so we can't go real deep here, but the board did create a performance review process with objective scoring and weighting, anecdotal comments from the board members are allowed as they review that. Every board member will go through this performance review for each board employee and can make comments and is encouraged to put in specific examples, whether those are positive or negative. And then each board member, after completing that document, we collect those, we score those, and then the results are discussed with the entire board. The outcome of that performance review may be an annual cost of living increase, it may be a merit increase. If performance is below what's expected, there could be performance improvement plan, and that might address opportunities for improvement and how we might get there. But those are things that could be developed depending on how the review process works through. Lastly, for 2025, we're working on specific job objectives and descriptions for the board employees. Those have been a little bit sketchy through time. So we're reviewing and revising all of those so that the board employees know specifically these are the things that are expected of the individual that holds these particular positions. Okay, Director Nettesign, did you wish to comment any more on that?
No, but I'll answer any questions anybody has when they come up, if you have questions, because I can already see a question on one person's face. So if you have questions, I'll answer it if you come up and would like to ask a question about it for clarification.
Not yet, but we're getting close. Hang on. Okay. So let's just walk through this spreadsheet here of the various items that came up at the last exchange meeting and what has or has not been completed on those items. So the first one is Mountain View pickleball courts open on holidays. I think that is still under management review for pros and cons and budget impact. So unless Mr. Dearmeyer has any comments, I think that's where we still stand there. Okay. 5-year plan that cannot be changed by a new board. 5-year plans are kind of living documents. They do change. So I think that our response to that is, by design, 5-year plans need to be flexible and be allowed to change. Board members should not chair committees. They should only attend, so the bylaws would need to be amended. That would be true, that if the board member is not a chair, but the articles, Article 12, I think, of the bylaws, I think the note that you have there says Board Policy 27. That no longer exists, so scratch that part out. And everything that relates to this particular process is in the bylaws under Article 12. And I think for the time being, because there does need to be some thought there, that chairs and co-chairs will still be for each committee in a singular. We had started out with some disagreement as to whether there could be multiple co-chairs, but there are just singular co-chairs. And those chair and co-chairs will conduct the meetings. Noise from speakers at Willow Creek and at Lakes East, I believe that has been successfully addressed. Any concern there? Okay. Riverview maintenance, that has been going through long-range planning, and that committee did make a recommendation over the weekend on that to suggest a facility that was more similar to what is at the South Golf Course. So that will now proceed through board hearings and comments from the membership. Number ticket machine, well, we've just addressed that, so hopefully we'll see how that works. Budget on the website, I believe, Mr. McCurdy, that's already been done? Okay, thank you. Sundial for performing arts. Well, this is going to be a long story there, I guess. So we're still waiting for that tri-art group to come back with the assessment from all of the member input that they gathered, as well as the structural engineer review of the existing auditorium. That's pretty important as to what happens there. So I think we still need to take a little more time to make sure what you as stakeholders and members told the architect, as well as, frankly, the fact of whatever the results are from the structural engineers. Frisbee golf at Quail Run, I think that has been referred to the Golf Advisory Committee that would be chaired by Director Keiss. Did you wish to add something there?
Yes, I would. We started talking about this last month at the Golf Advisory Committee. We started getting some more inputs from people. So last week, I asked Mr. Duthu to have notices put out at Quail Run for members and golfers to provide feedback. And I've gotten over 50 emails on this so far, and I appreciate all the emails from people. I just wanted to let you know that I haven't tallied them out yet, but the inputs I've received have gone from the gamut of, this seems to be like a good idea, how can we incorporate it, to, yeah, this might be a decent idea, but on a golf course, trying to interlace it with golfers and loss of revenue and things like that, a golf course might not be the best place to do it, to, do you really think that people our age would participate in that very much? To the far end of it is, what kind of an idiot thought this was a possibility? So I think a number of people are here to comment on that. I'm still asking for feedback. I talked to the Sun City Men's Golf Association about it last week. I'll talk about it to the Women's Umbrella that's meeting Wednesday of this week, and then we'll discuss it again at the Golf Advisory Committee and maybe hopefully come up with a recommendation for the board on what our thoughts are. But if you want to send me an email about it to give your inputs, or aside from talking today, please feel free to do so. I appreciate them all. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Keiss. That was enlightening. But that's how the process should work. The stakeholders need to come and express their opinion so that that gets weighed in the process of making any decisions there. All right, the next one is Election Committee being changed to Election and Ethics. That was assigned to Director Rickmeyer, who is the chair of the Elections Committee. The next is black mold and chipping on Marinette Pool and the functioning of the showers at Bell and Marinette. And I guess once again, this is not black mold. That's been tested by the state of Arizona. I know this seems mundane, but it's just dirt. It's coming from sunscreen and just dirt that people have on their bodies as they enter the pools. And so it tends to collect along the edges, and it is very difficult to control. Mr. Diermeyer has instituted some policies about cleaning to try and address this, but honestly, it is a difficult issue to deal with. So we're kind of feeling our way as to how most effectively to clean along those edges of the pools to remove that. Pool showers, it's my understanding that Marinette has been addressed, and Bell, Mr. Diermeyer, did we make anything there or not?
I don't know about Bell.
Okay, Bell is still pending. Why is the waterfall down at the lake here? It's down because the pump is ancient and is on back order. It's so old that we're just getting a new pump, as I understand.
Yes.
I can add to that,
Mr. Ripperud?
Mr. President. Yeah, we were looking at getting a new pump, but we consulted with enough folks that we're going to rebuild the existing one. It can be rebuilt and extend the life, so that's the direction we're going. It'll speed up things, but I don't have a date yet. It's going to be a couple more months at least.
Wow,
But
okay.
buying a new pump would have put us out to the end of June at a cost of over $50,000. So we think this is a better way to go financially, but it's still out.
Okay, thank you. A request for a one-page newsletter that would go out in the mail monthly. Management has been considering the Sun City update to mail more frequently. I assume that's still under consideration.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dielezansky. And, all right, a couple more here. Post center leader names and phone numbers. They are currently posted at a couple places, and I guess we're considering additional postings so that they're easier to find and then get a hold of. Small area for electrical charging stations for electrical vehicles. There has been some infrastructure pushback on that. And there is some additional pushback that it's a rec center that may not meet our mission statement. Let's not make snap decisions about that. But then lastly, as seems always to jump into every decision, there are liability issues as well. So still working through all of those, and we'll try to update you as that becomes clearer. And is the board looking for other sources of income? Yes, we are, as far as staying within our mission, vision, and value statements as a recreation center. So while we still do gambling here with bingo, I don't think we're interested in opening a casino, but we will look for other revenue sources if we can, because it would be nice not to place that burden on all of us as members. If we can raise funds elsewhere, that is something we would try to thoroughly investigate. Okay, that covers all of those. And we're now ready to open the floor for discussions. Director Rick Meyer, do you have the first number?
Who's number 16? Okay, Jean, you're gonna have to help me a little bit too, because you're the test case.
Good morning. Jean Totten, number 148753, and thank you for this opportunity to speak. I have questions regarding the annual membership meeting that is taking place on Tuesday, March 11th at Sundial. This is the one meeting of the year that members are allowed to vote on motions if they meet the requirements as listed in the bylaws and if a quorum is met. Proxy votes are allowed at this meeting, and I would appreciate it if you could explain this procedure so myself, members of this audience, and members who will be watching can understand. Specifically, I would like to know, what is a live signature? Is it true that a member who wants to fill out the proxy form needs to know who is collecting them so that they can turn their vote into this person, as someone told a person who called? How are they going to know who a circulator is? Where are the members who need to mail in their proxies supposed to send them? And then, is this information correct if a member has a significant other living with them who holds a privilege card? The significant other will be turned away from attending the meeting. Are members going to be notified ahead of time that a quorum is met or not met? And is the business portion of the meeting will then be adjourned, but will there be an exchange after? Thank you, and stop the clock.
Can I have that list?
No, because I have more.
Okay, well, if you want me to answer them, I need the
Live
list.
signature. What is
A live signature is a wet signature. It's an original signature. Like, it's a legal document, it's a wet signature.
So if
It's not photocopied, it's not a stamp, it's a live signature.
How do you expect people who are mailing them in from out of state to have a live signature?
If they're mailing them in from out of state, they signed the document, didn't they? So that makes the signature live or wet.
What if they have to give that to the circulator and they want to keep a copy?
Then they make a photocopy and they keep the copy, not the original. The original is given to who they want to make their proxy vote.
Thank you. How do we know who to turn proxy forms into?
Several ways. Let's say, for example, I'm going to use Chris. Chris has some neighbors that aren't able to come vote. They would like her to hold their proxies. Maybe you've got neighbors that want you to vote on their behalf. You're holding their proxies.
Right.
You can, if I want John to vote because I'm going to be up on the podium and then helping with counting votes, I want him to have my vote, I'll give him my proxy. That's how you decide. The proxy giver decides who they want to represent them.
And what happens if a complete unknown person out there has heard this, and wants to do a proxy and has no idea who a circulator is? What are they supposed to do with their proxy?
They can find somebody, a friend of theirs or someone they know that's going to the meeting and ask them to represent them. It's Jean, you're making it more complicated
No,
than
I'm
it is.
not, because in the past, I believe it says right in your pamphlet, proxy votes can be emailed to the corporate office. Is that?
Not emailed, mailed to.
Okay,
I
mailed
mean,
to.
so that's a document so that way they know that the corporate office knows that you have the proxy for Jane Doe who's up in Minnesota.
Excuse me, but in the past, hasn't the board corporate office taken proxies? Never.
We only would take if it was a proxy taker, and they had all their little proxies that they got, that they were gonna vote for, that would come to us as a packet. We've never gotten individual proxies from people because we wouldn't know who to give it to vote for them.
You wouldn't hold them as an entity for your membership.
But we've never gotten them. They've always come in a packet from a proxy taker.
Okay, thank you. So no mailing in of proxies?
Not that I recall, no. Unless it's a packet with a proxy taker
Right,
and, and their proxies behind it.
okay, just wanted to be sure. And then the
Jane?
significant other? Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. So think about the proxy form itself. The proxy form itself is not motion specific. It just
That's
says, I give this person my proxy to vote.
Right.
If they mailed in the proxy form to the corporation as an entity, we would not know how to vote that because it's not a specific proxy form. It's not motion specific. So we would hold their proxy, but we would not know what to do with it because we would have to choose as a corporation to vote it a certain way. And that, I think, would be illegal, if not invalid. Just would not work that way.
And is this the way Robert's Rules recommends doing proxy voting at a meeting? Has anyone looked into this?
How we're currently doing proxies? We, as a board, we have been discussing, because proxies have been at issue during this general meeting, we have been looking at how everything is written to determine, do we need to make changes so that it is easier for members to vote by proxy?
Yeah.
So yes, we are looking at that.
That won't occur till next,
Well, it seems to me that as a service to your members, then, we who want to be a circulator should tell you, and you could list our names so that people in the community would know who to give their proxy to. Otherwise, they're going to say, I really want to attend that meeting, but I don't know who to give my proxy to.
Right, but that means the circulator would have to take a position on every motion before they do that.
Well, if I remember correctly, Marcia, didn't they used to have numbers or general or something written on the top?
It's always just been general.
And what does general mean?
It's not for any specific motion.
It's not for a okay, if it's not for a specific motion, then it's for all of them.
Right, but how, if you give, so let's say you want to vote, you want to bring a motion that you want to paint all of the Sun City facilities purple, okay, and you want to bring that motion. If we give you the proxy and they have not designated what they're voting for, and you vote for purple, see what I'm saying? We can't just give you a proxy when we don't know what the member who's providing the proxy does not know what your position is.
I understand that, but you're trusting the person that you're giving your proxy to, because it's a pretty important thing, to vote for you.
Correct, but they're giving you, people who are giving you their proxy right now have spoken to you. They know what your position is. They probably have a good idea of what motions you're in support of and not.
No, no motions have been
They
put
know
forth.
what your position is. So if they give you the proxy, they know you're going to vote in a specific way. That is how, it's not like, so most of us vote proxy by investment companies, right? We'll get these proxies, it'll say, they'll have 7 motions, you take a position one way or the other on your form, you send it back, and the corporation holds the proxy and votes them for you. We don't do that.
Well, that sounds like a great idea.
Not saying it's not, but I think we're getting off track a little bit.
Yep.
Okay. And the significant other?
If the significant other is a privilege card holder and is not a deeded owner, they cannot vote.
I didn't ask you if they could
They
vote.
cannot come into the meeting either, to my knowledge.
Thank you.
Because
That's
they
what
are
I
not
asked.
they're not a member, a voting member.
I have talked to people who come up together, and one is and one isn't. And they're under the assumption they can both come to the meeting.
No, 'cause
So I
there's-
think you need to make sure that that is well specified, because otherwise, they're either going to leave mad, or the significant other's going to sit out in the car and wait, okay?
Director Gray, did you wish to? Okay.
What
Go
else,
ahead,
Jean?
Jean.
Okay. Start the clock. Since,
You're done with your list? Okay, I just want to make sure.
well, I'm done with that portion, yes.
Fair enough.
I have 2 pages, and there's a reason. There's a reason, but I don't think, start the clock. A minute 26 will get the reason in there. So can you clarify the matrix to me? Stop the clock.
No.
Considering that we only have, to my knowledge, the board has 2 employees. Tom, you talk like you had many.
I did stop the clock. I can't help it if it's.
Okay, you're talking about the responsibilities matrix?
That what you were speaking about earlier.
So the
You said you would
responsibility
answer
matrix
questions.
is when you're working in when you're working in a business where people have different responsibilities, you outline the different categories, and then you say, on those categories, who's supposed to perform these, who's accountable for seeing they get done, who do you have to inform as the process is going on, who's allowed to have input, and who can stop the process, who can say, we're not going to do that. So that is how the matrix works, and it's designed specifically to work with the general manager and his senior leaders.
So you've done this for your
Yes.
2 employees.
We have done this for 1 employee because with Marcia, her role is a little different.
Okay.
And so how we're functioning with Marcia is different from how we're functioning with the general manager.
Because I completely misunderstood when you started to talk, Tom, about, I thought you were doing this with conjunction with the general manager for all the employees here.
No, 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 no. This is just between the board and the general manager.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Gene, but I don't think it fits the 3-minute idea for someone to ask a question, expect the clock to stop, have 4 or 5 minutes of discussion, and go on with that. I don't think that's in the spirit of it. I don't think there's time. We have to allow other people to talk. You can't occupy 15, 20 minutes of time just because you've got a question that only takes a couple seconds to answer. So I think you need to wrap this portion up, please.
Thank you for your opinion. Start the clock, please. My next concern is regarding the timing of our board meetings and the reports that we receive and are given that day. The reports by management, including treasurers, management, and financial, are distributed to us via an email blast before the board meeting and are available the day of the meeting. However, the bylaws state that members can only speak on those presented motions at the formal board meeting. That means that there's no place where questions about the reports can be asked until the following exchange meeting. So, I believe that information is correct. So now I have to wait 2 weeks because I have questions on the management and the treasurer's report. And I'm just wondering if there's some way that we could accommodate this a little bit better so that I don't have to come up here and hear groans because I have 2 pages of questions. Some of these questions have to do with what I heard at the board meeting where we're only allowed to speak on motions. So my question is, could you take this into consideration? Thank you.
Thank you, Jean, and we'll take a look at that.
I have one other question. Am I supposed to take another now?
Yes, please.
Okay, number 17.
Put it down so you can see me. My name is Suzanne Tradup. It's 32197. I'm here to represent Quail Run on the Frisbee golf issue. We have 130 or more residents that own properties on the golf course. I myself lived here since 2000 on hole number 6. I'm against bringing Frisbee golf to be on Quail Run. I don't even consider, excuse me, as a golf game. It is more like a game you would have in the park. My feelings and others I have heard from that it would interfere with playing golf on Quail and outsiders that come to play on Quail Run also. Plus, we don't have the available acreage to put Frisbee golf anywhere on Quail. I've seen the plans that was done on 2024 that didn't include the Frisbee location, which I know it'll be later, you know. But however, the notice on Frisbee golf issue should very well have been posted way before the meeting that is today and Thursday, the 13th. In closing, I hope the RCSC board will study and take a good look at the plans and complaints that will be coming in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hang on a second here, sorry. It's going to take some getting used to. Number 18, please. Is it say 19?
That short.
No, that's 19 to come up front.
I'm sorry?
Hold on just a sec. If you have any of the next several numbers, if you want to come sit up in the front row to save a little walk-in time and so that way we can keep moving, that would be helpful. And thanks for the suggestion. Sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. Evie Webb Swope, 16814. Mr. President, board, staff, and stakeholders. The greatest danger to our future is apathy. That was said by Jane Goodall. She was not talking about Sun City, but I am. I am so disappointed about the apathy that I see here running rampant. You could barely eke out 1,200 votes for the board of directors spot. That should be a spot that all of us aspire to, and not just throw out 1,200 votes out of what, 32,000 members? Roughly. We've got annual meetings that do not meet the criteria for a quorum. That has consequences, ladies and gentlemen. Having sat on boards of directors throughout this nation for both for-profit and not-for-profit, the for-profits are in danger of losing their status. There are consequences. Look them up. It's not my job to teach you. The problem is we've got an us and a them situation. I have not been here that long, but it's pretty obvious. The them is the board and the staff, and the us is the rest of us back here, and we've got to come together. It is disappointing, to say the least, that I don't know if anybody seems to care. We've got an annual meeting coming up, an annual meeting, a time to show off the accomplishments, the what could be's, the plans, all of those wonderful things. Now, who the heck am I? Well, for 40 years, I was president CEO of financial institutions in the Pacific Northwest. I know a little bit about financial statements. As I said, I've been on boards of directors. The important thing is I used to work for agencies of the U.S. federal government, including the FBI as needed. And I was given one task, and that task was, you got 90 days to fix it, or we're going to shut them down. So I was involved in that. You know, the biggest reason they were shut down was apathy. Board apathy, staff apathy, and sitting around listening to people trying to tell me why I'm wrong and they're right. And they were shut down. I'm not threatening, I don't have a crystal ball, but this is serious. And this should be job one for everyone, to get us together, to work together. Give me an elevator speech so I can go out there and tell people what is right with Sun City instead of what is wrong. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I certainly share the concern about the apathy. It was disappointing to have a turnout of only 1,200 folks for the board election. I guess the other side of that coin is maybe a lot of other folks felt like things were going well. I don't know. That's a presumption. That we have no facts about that. But I agree with that. And I also agree with your statement of let's try and work together and overcome this us versus them mentality, because I do see that almost every day here, and I have so tried to address that. Oftentimes, the us or the them have been a little hard to get to become us. So I'm on board with that. So let's try to work towards that goal. Next. Oh, I'm sorry. Director Gray.
Thank you. Yeah, I wanted to speak to that because that's a big issue to me too. In fact, I got an email not too many days ago saying that it's the board's responsibility to eliminate the apathy and get people involved. And I replied back that it's not the board's responsibility. We can do what we can do, and we are trying to do what we can, including some things that may be coming up media-wise. But peer pressure does a whole lot more. And we need to have a community that we're challenging one another to get involved. And so, again, it's not, I'm encouraging you all to not just say it's the board's responsibility. We're a community. It's our responsibility. And so we all need to take part in that. We all need to take our share to motivate our neighbors, the people in our clubs, to do everything we can to get people in the process. But I think it's, and again, I understand the whole animosity thing because before I got elected, I was on the other side of that. But again, we as a community need to realize it takes the whole community. And we shouldn't just be saying, it's your problem. As a board, we're not just saying, it's your problem. We're saying we're going to do what we can do, but we all need to chip in on that. So I appreciate the rise against apathy, and I would hope that we all work to eliminate that. Thank you.
Anybody else? Just a little far back. 19. Okay, but I got to get it there.
She's ready.
Technical issues. Number 19, please.
Good morning, Barb Taylor, 167763. I want to talk about the RCSC facilities being used by outside organizations and events. Rockin' Through the Years Dance Club, also known as RTTY, has regularly scheduled dances the second, fourth, and fifth Saturdays of the month at Sundial. At our dance last Saturday, by the way, which were there 282 attendees, our President Maggie announced that the next scheduled dance isn't until March 22nd, and no dances scheduled for the month of April. She went on to explain the reasoning, and that being dances have been canceled due to the fact that organizations outside of Sun City and RCSCs are coming in to book events. If a requested date is already booked, such as our regularly RTTY dances, our club gets kicked out with the outside organization having priority. And we're wondering why. Is it because the outside organization pays a fee? Us Sun City residents pay our annual property assessment. We pay club membership fees, etc., to take advantage of and enjoy what Sun City has to offer. One of RCSC's values, and I quote, "We are committed to making members our highest priority and giving them high-quality services." Again, we are committed to making members our high priority. When an outside organization is looking to book a venue, why not book something for them that is not already booked by an RCSC activity? There's Bell, Fairway, Mountain View. So you're probably thinking that that may not work because the size of their request, or it doesn't have a stage, or it doesn't have a kitchen, whatever. Well then, sorry, go back to them and tell them, we apologize, there's nothing available. So the bottom line is, why do you give priority to outside organizations versus your own members? You say members are the highest priority. But is it truly all about the money?
It is not. And so I got your email over the weekend.
I didn't send one.
Well, somebody did on this very exact point.
Oh, okay.
And so we did do some research on that. And Mr. Diermeyer, I believe, is prepared to respond to exactly what you just raised.
All right, am I on? All right, sounds like I'm on. So I did reach out to Angela in our club office this morning when I got the email, and she got back to me pretty quick. The error on our part is we probably have to do a better job messaging this back to the clubs, because when we tell you the space isn't available, we say when making reservations, sanctioned events and concert reservations get made prior to club reservations. So here are the 5 dates that your club doesn't have use of this facility. February 22nd is for the concert band performance, which is a club. March 8th is a sanctioned event with the Camera Guild. April 12th is a women's chorus. April 26th is a concert band performance. And then November 29th is a fall festival. You were offered to relocate the dances to the Bell Social Hall. The club chose not to move. And you have 23 scheduled dances in this facility for 2025. So it's not an outside paid event that's taking your space. It's other clubs that are using their sanctioned events for this space.
Well, then that must be a miscommunication to our president, Maggie.
We have to do a better job communicating to you guys, and we're working on improving that.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you for your input, though. That's helpful for everybody. Director Rickmeyer?
Okay, let's try this. Number 20. All right.
Ed Van Ness, 116313. I just wanted to thank everyone up at the table up there for all they do. And we, as the people that sit back here, have different views, and we can sometimes be very critical of what you're doing. But in all, there's some major travesties that are happening, and I think, we look at finances, we were reportedly $1.6 million in the hole. And when we get our budget report, it says $615,000 in the hole. That's a big difference. I want to know where that difference is and how that could be when it's 1.6 million and it gets reduced to $613,000. That's a big difference, and I think that's an error somewheres in the whole mix system. I know, Anita, you're the treasurer of the corporation, and I know you have a big job to fulfill, but are you reviewing the checks you sign every month?
We are.
And so could you explain to me where that difference comes from?
Yes, I do review the checks every month. I look at all of them. I'll look at the detail, see what's on there, question some checks. I don't know as if I've ever really refused one, but I have questioned. A lot of that is timing. If you look at the budget reports right now, we are doing a great job, but we haven't had enough time to spend money. If you look at them in October, you're going to see where we've got money left, but all of the project costs aren't in yet. When we went from 1.6 to 6, there were some expenses that weren't moved into the capital lines that should have been. So it's kind of a juggling thing. We need to do a better job, and I admit that I need to do a better job, but we're not hiding anything. It's timing when things get done, how things get done. And then our accounting staff not had enough to do. They changed their entire bookkeeping system and had to work on that, their software. So yeah, we should have had better numbers out earlier. I agree with you.
So can you tell me where the difference in funds lie? Where moving something from capital funds to this or that, or I know that's within your scope of work, but it leaves a big question to the people sitting out in the audience, where that money goes to, how it seemed to disappear, whether there was an influence of interest gain from an investment. That doesn't erase the fact that we were in debt that much money. And I think, to me, that is a big question, and it seems that it's not being resolved so people can understand what that difference meant and how it came to be what it is in the reports.
Okay, first of all, I want you to understand we're not in debt. We never were in debt. We have plenty of money. What we did was we overestimated our income when the budget was prepared in 23 for 24. We overestimated golf revenue, so that alone was a problem. Then we got to expenses, and we overspent in some areas. So we didn't get the money in, but we were spending it. If you look at the bottom line, we got in enough money, well, not enough. We were $10,000 short. We brought in $10 million, and we spent $10,010,000. However, we blew our budget. Our budget is a plan. It's not actual dollars. It's a plan on how we're going to use dollars. So don't get too hung up on the 1.6. I know it looks bad, and I understand that. But it doesn't mean we're in the hole and we're losing money.
Well, I see that we are in the, we have money. Yes, I agree with that. But I think, the way you present the reports and the way the word is out there is a real misjustice to the members sitting out here in the audience that we are not financial experts.
I agree with you 100%. We're going to have to change how those reports are brought out. If you're an accounting person, it makes total sense. If you're not an accounting person, I can see how you get lost. Where minuses are good things and minuses are bad things, and I understand that, and we will do our best to change that.
Well, I appreciate your efforts, and I would like to see this difference. I mean, $1.6 million is $1.6 million. Whether we have 100 million in the bank, or you have 35 million in the bank. It's still a big chunk of money, and I think that sort of needs to be corrected so we are not running into that situation again. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So let's explore that a little bit. And I don't want to step on Mr. McCurdy, who is the accountant and will talk circles around me in a heartbeat. But so when we let's definitionally, where were we revenues in, and expenses out, the cash basis, if you will, versus a budget, which was kind of a straw man, where we would like to be. So the budget isn't really true dollars in and out. It's just where we had hoped to be. What's important for you to understand is what really happened, dollars in, dollars out. So when we finished November, and Mr. McCurdy can check on me here, but we finished November with a shortfall of about $470,000. When we finished December, the weather was good in December. Golf did pretty well. We had excess in December of $471,000. So we ended up at the end of the year with a net deficit of $9,000. So on basically a $30-some million operation, we technically were in the red, but by $9,000. Now, the budget is something else. We had hoped to have done much better than that, but as Treasurer Borski was explaining, there were other things that did take place. But as far as dollars in, dollars out, we were basically zero. Even. Okay? So I hope that I don't disagree that when you look at these kind of pages, your eyes blur and it's hard to follow. So I blame that on Kevin. That's what he does. He intentionally tries to obscure things. It's just how accountants are trained. So we'll take that from him. But at the end of the day, for 2024, this corporation basically finished zero. Dollars in, dollars out were matched. We were only 9,000 to the bad. I hope that's helpful, but I know the budget numbers look difficult, but that's just a straw man. We had hoped to be there. We had 100 days in a row of 110 or 113 degrees. That decimated golf, and golf is a big revenue generator. And not only did it hurt the revenue side, but it increased the expense side, mainly because we had to pump a lot of water to keep those things alive. So anyway, Mr. McCurdy, is there anything you would need to add to that?
Director Foster, sorry. The only thing that I would add to that is, and apologies for getting accounting wonky on you here, but we were favorable on our interest and investment income by $2 million. So not only were we break even on a net operating basis, but we were significantly favorable on cash that we made on our investments. So overall, we were very favorable on a cash basis for the year.
Thank you. Any other directors? Okay, Director Rick Meyer.
Okay, number 21.
Hi, Alex Pannone, 140359. I want to talk about Frisbee golf. There are a lot of people here who are not going to talk. I'd like to ask everybody who's here against Frisbee golf to please rise. Okay, surveys will show when we're done, okay? surveys will show for every one person that votes, there are 100 people who don't. So based on this, we have a couple thousand people who are against it. Frisbee golf is not golf. Just because it uses the name golf doesn't mean it has anything to do with golf. When Del Webb deeded us the golf courses, the stipulation was, as you remember, when they tried to do the dog park, it was not allowed because we could not use the golf courses for anything but golf. So we're talking about something that we know from previous history just can't be done. All right, if you try and use the golf courses for something that it's not entitled to, you're now in violation of what the deeded properties are that Del Webb gave us. We don't want to open ourselves up to a liability like that. The second thing is we've learned nothing from past mistakes. When we built South and we put in the simulator, I talked to the previous board then and said there is no way that this is going to be profitable. There is no way that our members are going to want to do this, and they moved forward with it. It was a $60,000 bill there. We've still not broken even in the simulator. We're going to spend $100,000 to $125,000. We're not sure what it's going to be for disc golf, but it's a waste of our money. Number one, we're going to bring in an outside element of people that we don't want here. We don't want children. We don't want teenagers. The game is not really a senior game. I've been in the golf business for a long time, and I talked to 3 general managers in the Valley who are personal friends of mine who have disc golf there. And they were forced by their members to do it. They can't charge, and they wish that they've never done it. I suggest, and they won't go on the record because they don't want to make their members mad, but I suggest that you talk to a couple general managers who have disc golf in the Valley and ask them off the record how they feel about it. It's just not something that we need in this community, and bringing in an element of people, number one, we don't have the parking, we don't have the golf courses. Are we going to make an investment to buy the proper equipment for disc golf? Do you guys know what equipment you need to make disc golf work? No, I'm sure we don't. But there's not one disc. It's just like a, okay. Point made.
Director Keiss.
Thank you for your inputs. I believe we've already traded an email this week.
We have,
yes.
But your email wasn't any of your issue. It was from a previous board.
Okay. We're looking for I've looked at all the statutes, because if you look at, it refers to statute X and statute X about golf. And unfortunately, there isn't a good definition of what golf actually is. In the statutes of Arizona, there is not. I've looked at them, sir. So we're asking for a legal opinion from our lawyer on this.
Frisbee golf is not golf.
Sir, this is my turn to talk, please.
Okay, good.
And I don't disagree with you that Frisbee golf is not the traditional golf we say it is, and I'm not saying that I'm for it one way or the other, because my job really is just to gather information, so I value your inputs. There's only $19,000 in the money for Quail Run on alternate number 1 for Frisbee golf. So I'm not sure how that got in there or why or where, and the person that was the promoter of this is not associated with the RCSC anymore. So I just wanted to appreciate everybody that came here and stood up for Frisbee golf.
Let's ask the question, who's in favor of Frisbee golf? Please stand.
And that really is kind of similar. I haven't tallied up all the numbers from all the emails I've got, but that's probably kind of similar to what I'm getting from all the emails. So, but thank you for your input.
Sure.
On it.
Anybody else? Number 22.
Good morning, board and management. My name is Mary Shopper. And And that number is 128442. We got 3 questions here. The budget discussion that was going on, the 1.6 to 600,000. Just a suggestion that, and yes, I have accounting background and all of that business. When we saw that we were digging a hole, when we were in deficit spending, the importance of a budget is to try to keep the organization on track. And at the time that we were already digging the hole, there could have been a memo, an email, something that went out to the community that explained this is what's digging the hole. It's the weather, it's the water, all of this. And the big thing is that there could have been an adjustment made to the budget, which would have answered all of this talk, and anyone who gets furious about it, $600,000, that type of thing, instead of waiting for the end of the year. That information, that change to budget could have happened, and then we could have, as a membership, move on. That's just a suggestion to keep it in mind should we ever start digging a hole again. Other income, sources of other income. Has there been an analysis, or could there be an analysis of what we pay as members to do certain activities? So I go to Zumba, I pay an extra dollars to go to a Zumba section. I go to aqua aerobics, I pay another additional dollars to do that. My question is, has there ever been an analysis like pickleball and other activities that we go to that we pay like an 80% of what we would pay outside of the community, so that in essence we pay our own way? So that's a suggestion. Yes, I pay my dues as everybody else. Third and last question with 2 seconds left. What's a golf simulator?
Mary, those were excellent questions. A golf simulator is an electronic device where there is a screen that's about 10 yards in front of you, and when you hit a golf ball into that screen, that golf ball is measured electronically, how much it spins, the speed of the golf ball, so then it represents how far you may have hit it and in what direction. And so you play.
And what course you're playing on.
And it can also simulate different golf courses, so you can play Augusta National or Pebble Beach or whatever and pretend that you've done that. And I think that was the initial idea behind that golf simulator way back when. That's been since the South Course was renovated, that was put in. I agree that it was not used and has not been used as much as was anticipated.
We have one of these?
We have one of these at the South Golf Course. Yep. You may come and I will show you.
Can I bring my cart?
I will even bring you golf clubs. So yes, you may.
I understand now, because my husband has one on his tablet.
Well, kind of, yes. This is a little bit
like
bigger version of that.
It keeps him quiet and happy, that's all I know.
That's great. You got it, mission accomplished.
Thank you.
All right. I would add just a couple things, Mary. One is we have looked at that budget process. We are looking to get input within 20 days of the end of any month so that we can see what's happening, which is an improvement. There is a procedure now in place that monitors requires more oversight of expenditures so that people, who are frontline employees who may have been ordering parts or whatever for different facilities, that takes now more oversight so that we don't accidentally blow a budget there because we didn't understand what we were doing. And then, quite honestly, and we've gone through this before, the biggest item in that budget, the biggest item in our income statement are salary and wages and benefits. So we do not have a hiring freeze, but we do have a hiring slowdown because salaries and wages do move the needle. There is a consequence for that. Yes, you're managing your budget and you're saving funds, but toilets may not get cleaned. You know, I mean, somebody is not doing something because their hours were cut or a position was relieved. So, yes, we're looking at things to try and maintain, and I've said this publicly a couple of times, and my friend down here, Director Gray, who did not give me the nickname Ebenezer Scrooge, but is embracing it anyway, that we can't control inflation and we can't control the weather, but those are two of the biggest drivers on this budget. So if we have what we expect in inflation and in weather, we're going to be just fine.
Number 23.
John Faust, member 153253. Good morning. And just a question, Director Gray, my email to you said engagement, not apathy. So who is responsible for engaging the members? It was a rhetorical question. You've answered it. It has to be somebody up here. You can't expect the members to engage themselves. Today, I'd like to talk about something that's dear and near to my heart, and that's a master plan. When Del Webb started this community, he had tens, maybe hundreds of urban planners looking at every aspect of data they could find to figure out what would sell, right? Today, we're at a juxtaposition where what's going to happen next? We've been around for 70 years. And what I feel is that our PIF planning, which is our long-term planning, is caught in an endless loop of lobbying. For as long as I can remember, RCSC has been on a board where there's new board, new member, go around, merry-go-round. I believe the PIF planning process is broken for the following reasons. And this isn't an indictment on anybody here. It's been this way since I've been involved. We lack the expertise and manpower to do proper long-term planning. None of you are expected to have a full and a half-time job, which is what this is, and you have rec centers to run. The long-term planning process we use is not transparent, and it's apparent that the squeaky wheel, which has been said for many times, is getting greased. The PIF process is not based on relevant data. Members don't understand the why. Why are we doing this? Realistic cost estimates are yet not used to evaluate PIF projects or alternatives. We put placeholders in. Members take those placeholders as the cost of what's going to happen. Members are not provided with alternatives to vote on. And the long-term plan, of course, changes every time a new board comes on. 35 seconds, thank you. So I'm going to be proposing at the annual meeting on March 11th at 5 o'clock here in Sundial, amendments to the bylaws to incorporate a master plan as a part of our permanent governance. The master plan will be developed by an expert and a consultant. The master plan will go through a series of reviews and ultimately come out for a member vote. That, I think, helps solve the engagement problem and puts us on the right path. Thank you.
John, I have a question. Okay. You said you're going to bring forth a motion to make a master plan an integral part of the bylaws that we will function under.
Yes, correct.
And then you said, you made another statement, and then I kind of got lost there, where you said something would come out to a vote for the members. Could you repeat that for me, please, so I capture it in my head properly?
Would you like me to elaborate? Because I kind of had to, when the 30 seconds came up, So, to elaborate on that, what I'm envisioning is that the urban planner will give us a good, better, and best option for a master plan for the future. The long-range planning committee will look at the integral parts of that good, best, and better, and make sure that it goes through a business case analysis so that the data is developed and available for anyone that reviews it. Secondly, when they come to a recommendation, they will give it to the board. The board will have the opportunity to not only review that master plan, but to propose changes. Not make changes, propose changes. That LRPC recommendation and the board recommendation for changes will go to a member meeting for vote. If the members are not able to secure a majority, or there is not a quorum, which apathy, then it goes back to the board.
Okay, so what you're saying is the master plan is here, proposed changes by LRP or the board to the presented master plan is what goes to the vote of the people?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. That's what I needed to know.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Number 24, and just real quick, what's the general consensus? Is this something that makes people happy, this working out? Okay, just want to make sure.
Jana Mapes, 1555586. I agree with the people before about the apathy, but it's not for you to get people out. It's for them to. When they had the outcry about the library, you had people climbing all over the place. And they were all over here. That's how they have to feel about keeping Sun City going and being a part of the general meeting. If you really care and you want to live here, and that means participating in Sun City events, clubs, doing things, instead of the apathy I saw in the Independent this last week, where several people wrote in going, well, why should we pay it? We aren't going to participate in anything. Then why did you move here? Seriously. You come here for meeting new people, learning new things, doing concerts, whatever, pickleball, golf, the whole 9 yards. That's what it's about. It's always been about that. I've been coming out here, the first time I came out here was with my parents, and that was in 1973. Dues, when they first started here for RCSC for the year, were only $10. They screamed when it went to 25. They literally had just, oh, you can't do this. Times change, you know. It gets more expensive. I get it. But that's why they need to come out even more. And people need to pay attention and be a part of this. Now, the only thing I was really going to come up here for was, it's a past one for fixing the water fountains on the golf courses. Excuse me, this is Arizona. You turn on the faucet in your house and it's hot water in the summer. What makes you think you can have cold on the golf course? Do what everybody else has done for years gone by. grab a small cooler, put it on your golf cart, and put ice and bottles of water in it. And we shouldn't have to be paying more for adding on something like that. That's not really used for anybody. And that's all I've got to say. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Director Rick Meyer.
Okay, I just wanted to take a quick moment and address the water cooler issue, just so you understand what's going on. So we have currently, and Mr. Duthu will correct me, roughly 38 throughout our golf courses as far as drinking fountains, water coolers. A water cooler is a device that actually chills the water. There, just so you know, there is not in the state of Arizona a water cooler that is designed to handle 118 degrees, 80-some degree entering water, and that type of thing, and also very hard water. So the drinking fountains out on the golf courses are actually indoor drinking fountains. An average basic drinking fountain like what we've got is at least $2,000 a piece. So that's why kind of alternate methods were being looked at, instead of a water cooler, drinking fountains instead, but then like the last comment made, the water's hot. You know, it's unfortunate that that's kind of the way it is. So it's still one of those topics that's a hot topic. Sorry, not intended. But it is something that's under review, and I wish there was a manufacturer that made an outdoor drinking fountain. If anybody says, well, wait a second, they put 2 at Phoenix out in the city, yes, they did, but they were actually, it's the same guts as what's in an indoor fountain, so it's gonna fail within a year or 2, the same as what ours are. So there's your update on drinking fountains. Woohoo.
So it's amazing how something as simple as water coolers or water fountains stirs up as many comments as it does. But one alternative that at least we are perhaps going to attempt here is, you know, lots of golf courses have someone who drives around with a cart and delivers hydration. So you can define that term however you wish. But the idea being that you know, I get the comment that was just made that, you know, bring your own. However that's defined, let's be careful there too, but that we might at least investigate whether or not that makes any sense, perhaps on the weekends for some of our golf courses, to have someone bringing hydration opportunities to the folks on the golf course. That maybe doesn't work all year round, maybe it's just in the summer, I don't know, that hasn't been fully vetted, but the thought was, let's not be liable for not providing hydration and have someone suffer heat stroke. We're a better community than that, and many golf courses do these things, and it's something that we're at least going to look at and potentially take at least a trial run at one of the courses later this year. We'll see. All right, next.
Number 25.
Bernie Casola, 149034. And the point that I'm going to bring up, I want to address it as a question. And we talked about apathy and stuff, and the figure that I've seen is 45% of us are snowbirds. And I brought this up, this is probably the 4th or 5th meeting, is I'm not allowed to serve on the board. However, I'm allowed to buy a gun in Arizona. So I was witness to an auto accident a couple of years, it's been probably 3 years ago, and I gave my name to the deputy, and he called me and he said, "You're not in the system." And I explained, I'm a snowbird. And he said, "But you need to get an Arizona ID." So I did. I went down to DMV. I had to take my Oregon driver's license. I had to take a birth certificate, and I had to take something that showed my address in Arizona. I have an Arizona ID now. I can go buy a pistol. I can buy an AR-15. I can buy any weapon I want with no waiting period. But you're telling me I can't buy a liquor or can't get on a liquor license? Why?
That
Are
is
you
something-
sure?
Well, that is, actually, I've heard it both ways, that we've had legal advice, or at least advice from those who claim to be legal experts, on both sides of that. So we just sent it to our general counsel and said, please resolve this issue. So either Snowbird can or Snowbird cannot be a member of the board, and let's get that resolved.
But it says on here it's completed.
Well, it's not.
Then you need to
Because-
clarify that.
Well, then I just did. Sorry if there was an error there.
It says 12/11/24 completed.
It's not completed. That is in front of our general counsel. So
Okay.
I apologize for that.
That's one of the reasons for the 55% or 45%. We can't serve. So of course we're not going to be involved if we can't serve.
Well, so let's find out whether or not you really can.
Okay.
I don't.
All right. Okay, that's my question. Okay, the second question I have is, you're talking about the general manager is your only employee. Is he an at-will employee, or does he have a contract?
Well, that's getting probably where I can't answer that. But
why?
Because that's his personal. That's confidential to him.
Let's ask him, are you a contract employee or an at-will employee?
I'll defer to the president.
That looks like you're covering something up.
We are not. There is.
Tom, it's okay. I'll tell him. I was supposed to have a contract about a year ago.
Say that again, I didn't hear it.
I was told I would have a contract, but as of now, I'm not. I do not have a contract. I'm at will. So I have nothing holding me here, and there's nothing holding them from getting rid of me.
Is the board looking at doing a contract?
Again, we're treading in areas where I can't comment on his confidential employment status or his personal reviews.
Any other employee of the company.
Okay, that brings me to my other question then. You talked about the reviews and stuff. How do we as a membership know what you guys think of his job if we can't see the review?
Well, can I see yours? And
Yes.
can I do that in front of everyone here?
If I worked for you, then yes, you would be able to see.
No, I'm not going to do that in front of this whole audience. That's a confidential document between you and your employer, and that does not belong in a public forum.
Okay, so how do we know what the board's opinion is of our general manager?
Well, if he's still here, at least it must not be totally unsatisfactory. I'm not going to tell you that we're up here jumping up and down. That may or may not be the case, but we have done an extensive and thorough review of 2024, and it's up to him as to how much he wants to share about that, but I will not share all the ins and outs of that personnel review. But I just don't believe that that is confidential.
Okay, my last point is, we live in Oregon, and we have a disc golf course in one of the parks. It's a horrible idea. The riffraff that comes in, the amount of people that it brings in, it's the wrong crowd. It's not for Sun City.
Thank you.
Number 26.
Hey, good morning. John Albertus, 134689. So that means I've been here about 8 years. I've been through 3 different general managers, and I have to say the one we have now is the best of all. So Jan X's claim to fame was that we haven't increased the dues for 6-some years. Well, that was probably 8 years ago. So even if there's a cost of living of 3% for 6 years, that would be 18% increase. So I would look at that and say, that is poor management if the cost of things go up and we aren't collecting dues to collect them. So I would say the board needs to keep, doing what's reasonable, making good decisions there. Wonderful. The other thing I would say is I love it when you have more education. Mr. Foster, I love it when you tell us, what's going on and information. We spent a lot of money for the architects to talk about what would be a placement for PAC? Well, they only got to speak about 10 minutes, and yet there's a lot of information that you could share with us. For instance, just as a general thing, I looked at it and I said, well, why can't we have a center at Bell? Well, there's a great big space where the place is. Well, come to find out, the Maricopa says that you have to have 450-foot setback. So it can't be in that space. And then the second thing is there's parking. Most of that parking is already designated because of the building space. And the second thing is water retention ponds. And so if you look at that at each one of those things, and if you educate us, then we aren't saying, well, why can't we do this? Why can't we do that? Like, for instance, this center, it's the most center of all. So the people are saying, well, why don't we use this for the theater? Well, it's already used, basically. It's all used up, and so educate us. Things that are going on. For instance, the hot water. It'd be nice if you would have said about Marionette. They were here on Wednesday and did it, and I never really heard the result of getting hot water there. What actually happened to that? What was the result of that, Did they find out why we weren't getting hot water at Marionette?
Well, my understanding is that was resolved, that was corrected. Oh, why it happened.
I can explain a little bit here. The design of the building, the loop of the hot water wasn't getting to all the fixtures. There's some fixtures on the tail end. For some reason, they were not part of the hot water loop. That was a design flaw, in my opinion. But we're correcting that, so that will be resolved. I'm not sure if it is yet or not. We were talking about this last week, so I don't have the exact date. But that's all it was. Most of the fixtures were getting hot water. It was just some on the tail end of the route that weren't part of the hot water loop. Again, I can't explain why it was designed that way.
Yeah. I just say I love it when you keep giving us education. The last exchange meeting, I think in December, the Vice President then McAdams, she talked about, for instance, lawn bowling. Well, I'm not 80 years old yet, so I don't lawn bowl. I play pickleball. And so they were talking about, the number of people that participate in that. Again, you guys have been collecting facts and figures at all the center. She talked about that the result of that is that the average use of lawn bowling was 16 or 18 people a day. So I'm saying, why is it that we have, Dylan tells us times are changing. Why is it that pickleball, we have over 1,200 in our membership? We need an indoor facility that's air conditioned, so that I don't have to get up at 5 or 6 in the morning in April and May to play pickleball. And you use your facts and figures and tell us what group is the biggest, and so who needs to be considered for those expenses. So I'd say keep educating us and let us know so that we know what's going on.
All right, that's good advice. We will try to continue to disseminate that good information.
Okay. Number 27. That's so awkward.
Hello, Ruth Mackay, 159538. I kind of just want to reiterate what the previous gentleman said about Mountain View. On my sheet, it says Mountain View project update at every meeting on the Mountain View project. Hopefully that means every meeting, including the board meetings. And it says status is reported at every board meeting. And then it says 12/11 completed. I appreciated Mr. Foster's couple of sentences about Mountain View that he said today, but I think that Mountain View should be like the top priority of this RCSC, and because it's going to be costing the most money. And I think that I reiterate what the gentleman said about education. It doesn't hurt to tell people the pluses and minuses of having the Mountain View or the PAC wherever it's going to be or however it's going to be, because then they won't have the questions. And I would also like to invite all of the members of the RCSC to come to the meetings, come to the other budget and finance committee meetings, or any committee that they're interested in, that they have questions about. The whole of RCSC can attend these meetings, and they can find out more information. And it's usually a smaller group, so you have, you have the closeness of getting acquainted with the people that are on these committees, and you'll learn a lot. So that's it. Thank you. Bye.
'28.
Hi, 39104, Gail Pingilly. I want to thank you all for your service to our membership here. I'm against Frisbee golf. I've lived on Quail, owned on Quail since 2002. It's a wonderful place to live and play golf. I have a couple of comments, and then I have a couple of questions for Brian. What's the cost to install this? I've heard $100,000. I've heard the budget was $19,000. Are the Frisbee players going to pay for golf? Or do you just need a RCSC card or punch card like putt-putt golf? So it might not be a moneymaker. Is it going to take away from the Quail Run tee times? Are there environmental issues with the water when the Frisbees go in the water? I've heard that is a problem. We have two octogenarian golf events. Are they going to be affected? I think South might be a better fit because it has more room, and I'm a member at South. Has there been a study done about this Frisbee golf? Has there been research? Is it in the works, or is it just talk? I heard that there's a budget line item for it. What are the costs of the Frisbees? I've heard $50 a Frisbee. If there's 5 people playing, who's going to pay for those? Is that in the budget? Quail Run only has 5 golf carts. Are they going to be able to use golf carts? Is that going to take away from the golfers? How much wear and tear is going to be on the course? Has that been in the study? So for Brian, I have a couple questions. Is Frisbee golf going to be in the Quail renovation?
Right now, it's just listed as an alternative for the project. No final decision's been made.
Okay, and what is involved in the $19,000 line item for Frisbee golf?
It was mostly just to put in the concrete pads that they use to tee off, if you will, where their tee box is a concrete pad.
Does it include the baskets and the Frisbees?
It should have, so.
Okay. What do you think about Frisbee golf at Quail?
I'm pretty apathetic for it, to be honest with you. It was a request to be put in. I can't say that I have strong feelings one way or another, but if it is decided to go through, we'll do whatever we need to do to make it work.
Okay. And is the Frisbee golf going to be a line item in your budget for income or for expenses after it's possibly installed?
I would imagine there would be some type of line item. I don't see it working if they, just to give you a little bit of my background with Frisbee golf, I worked for American Golf for quite some time, and they had looked into doing Frisbee golf as a way to offset declining numbers in golf, which was golf was on a decline until COVID hit, and then COVID kind of reinvigorated golf. But I met with a national person that represented Frisbee golf at the course that I was managing at the time, And I told them that our plan was to charge them to play Frisbee golf, and they said, well, we don't pay. And that was kind of died on the vine at that point. So I don't think Frisbee golfers are used to paying to play. But I also don't see it working if we have to give up tee times to allow a free event. You know, in the summer, there's certainly plenty of space, so it wouldn't be as big a deal in the summer to set aside times for Frisbee golf, but I don't know if Frisbee golfers are any likely to play when it's 110 than golfers are, so.
Right. And do you think it would bring people from the outside in to play?
I would say that would be up to RCSC to decide if they wanted to open it up to outside players. I believe the intent was only for members to use the Frisbee golf portion of the plan, so.
Okay. Well, thank you. And that was my only comment. I'm against the Frisbee golf. Thank you.
Number 29. Okay. Number 29.
Has that individual apparently has left?
Okay.
Go ahead.
Number 30. Right.
Milt Lebsack, 130662. I will definitely confine myself to 3 minutes, hopefully less. I always hear something new. Number one, I'm definitely against Frisbee golf. I think it's a terrible idea. Number two, I agree with everybody who's talking about apathy. There are way too many people here who do not get involved, and they only get involved when a decision is made that they don't like. Unfortunately, that's the case. My major concern is and has been for the last 10 years that we've been here, the Mountain View project. As far as, I know everybody gets up here and complains about costs. An enormous amount of money has been spent on studies, architects over the 10-year period from numerous architects who really didn't have a knowledge of what the situation was. A lot of money's been wasted. The only thing that's been accomplished at Mountain View in 10 years is renovation of the mini golf course. That's it. And the stumbling block to me has always been the Performing Arts Center. I don't know if you even want to call it a Performing Arts Center, but if you do, the place for it is right here. This is the best facility in the city. It accommodates an enormous amount of events. I realize it's the most heavily used venue in the city. It's the best located. It's the best facility in the city. Whether you want to call it an auditorium, a performing arts center, a multi-purpose building, a convention center, really doesn't matter. It's an excellent facility. It's highly used. And if you want to call it a performing arts center, you should call it a performing arts center. As far as the Mountain View is concerned, it was designed as a theater, and it is adequate. It's been used for years as a theater, primarily for plays and movies. That's what a theater is for. If you want to renovate it, the major item that I've heard time and time again is theater seating. Whether it's at Mountain View or Sundial, that seems to be the issue that I hear most often. If that's the case, then maybe you should have theater seating at Mountain View, but it is a theater. It's used for plays, it's used for movies, it can be used for other smaller events. It serves that purpose well. Whatever renovations need to be made, particularly possibly to seating, would be a good idea. Very briefly, I want to talk about one other thing, which I thought was a good idea. I had nothing to do with deciding on it, but this was the back nine and breakfast. I did that last week at 8:15 at Lakes East Course. I was the only one on the course. Unfortunately, it's a major disaster. It hasn't worked. I wish it would. I think it would bring in extra revenue, particularly for the casual golfer who doesn't want to spend 4 or 5 hours a day playing 18 holes. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I thought maybe you wanted to make, I thought you were making a
No,
comment. Number 31? Okay. I got too many things to do here.
172545, Dave Reese. I'm a new member, you can tell by my number. We researched Sun City and came here primarily for golf. We looked at all the beautiful golf courses, settled on Quail Run, bought a home that faces the golf course, and as you know, probably paid a 15 to 30% premium to be on the golf course. I'm concerned about the proposal for Frisbee golf. I want to know the reason for that. When we researched, and I came to the U group, RCSC, before we bought the property, and was told about the upcoming rehab of the golf course. And we were okay with that because it would upgrade the golf course and make it nicer than it was. 5 days ago, I got an unsigned note stuck in my door telling me about the proposed Frisbee golf. That's not in any way showing me that there's any concern for my investment. I had no way of knowing this. I want to know who proposed it, what the motivation is. I'll wait for an answer.
Go ahead, Director Kais.
Sir, this was made before I was on the board. My understanding is that the idea was to provide another amenity that the members would like to play, the members might want to participate in.
Okay.
It's not going to replace golf at Quail Run. It was designed to be, my idea is, the thought was to incorporate it along with regular golf so that members could participate in disc golf as well as in regular golf. Now, whether that's going to work.
Incorporate real golf with Frisbee golf? That's a very bad marriage.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting from people, sir.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people are saying that.
Was there a committee formed?
No, that's why I'm trying to solicit invitations for it. There is a golf advisory committee, and this would go to golf advisory committee, so there wasn't anything.
Obviously,
for
this
us.
has gone quite a ways to be on the agenda here today.
There's no agenda for here today, sir.
Well, it's on the list here. I'm new, I don't know. I just think I need to know who it is, if there's a group that's involved with, is it somebody or a group that just is a Frisbee golf person? Has there been any municipalities visited to see what the ramifications are with Frisbee golf? If you know, I'm pretty familiar with it. They're a disaster where there are houses. Frisbee golf is not like golf. Yes, they are, there's errant golf shots, but Frisbee, everybody's not an expert. We see it on TV. There's a lot wind situations. There's been lots of turmoil in residential areas where Frisbees are on roofs. People are they put signs up, protected by a gun, don't come in. Property's been damaged. It's also an Audubon, isn't there an involvement with the Audubon Society to protect Quail Run? This is a disaster waiting to happen to destroy their accomplishments so far in preserving the environment. I am deeply distressed that my notification came as a homeowner, hung on my door 5 days ago. I think it's a misguided idea. And I noticed the unsigned notice I got had, is it Brian Duthu? And you're a PGA? And are you for or against?
As I stated, I'm neither for nor against it. If it's decided to go through, we'll make it work.
You're not for or against it, but you're a PGA golf, Professional Golf Association?
Correct.
And you're also thinking that this is a good idea?
That's not what I said.
What did you say?
I said I have no strong feelings one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
If it's what the membership decides to go forward, we'll make it work, is what I said.
Okay, so.
Your time is up,
Yeah.
sir.
Dave, I think what people need to understand is this was an idea brought forward over a year ago. Members said, disc golf, it may be a good idea. So we said, okay, we will look at it. We are only looking. We have not made a decision. We have not answered all the questions the lady asked before. We're not that far. We haven't done a study. There's been no commitment. And I don't know who sent you a letter, probably one of your neighbors. I don't know that.
No letter, I got to think.
Or in your door.
That is a weak communication.
Yeah, that's not from us.
It's a very weak communication.
It's not from us.
I made a large investment here.
Yes, you did. I live on a golf course too.
Whatever this is up, I was told by the RCSC about was the rehab of the golf course budgeted, and is that money there?
We have to cut your time because you've been up here quite a while. But this is not, there has been no decision made.
Is the money that's for the rehab there?
There's $19,000 in the Quail budget. Doesn't mean we're going to spend it. It's just there in case. We have not made a decision.
On the Frisbee golf?
Right.
It should be tabled today.
It's not even brought up.
I don't see anybody that's wanting it.
We're trying.
You're distressing me as a homeowner.
Excuse me, sir. Dave, can I speak with you, please? This is not before the board for vote.
Pardon me?
This is not before the board for a vote, so there's nothing to postpone.
I understand that.
I think there's a misunderstanding of what has actually happened. Originally, when the Quail Run budget was created, it said, if, as an alternate, how much would it cost to do X, Y, and Z? They put it in there. The original intent of the email that went out was before we go and expend a large amount of time determining all the different pieces and parts to bring disc golf in, was do the members even want it? And that's what the question was at large. And I think you've answered that. You do not want disc golf, correct?
I would say that.
And I think the members here have stated pretty clearly they do not want disc golf. And we're hearing you. That was the purpose. That was the purpose of the communication, for you to tell us, should we take any other steps to investigate the opportunity or the option of adding disc golf at Sun City. That was the only purpose of the email, was to actually ask that question, and which the members have answered.
Well, yes, sir?
Well, so the process at this point is to go through the Golf Advisory Committee, who will then make a recommendation to the board. And if that is the recommendation of the Golf Advisory to not pursue that, then the board will probably give that a lot of due, that recommendation a lot of due consideration. There is no, as she was saying, there is no motion. This isn't a board meeting. This is what we call an exchange meeting.
I understand that.
Okay, so there's no ability for us to table something that's not really before us.
Okay,
but so it has to come through this Golf Advisory Committee, then it would be before the board, and formal action could then be taken. And that frankly, is how it'll happen.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's in the,
What, I want to know that, was the renovation of Quill Run, is that money there? That this proposed one this summer closing for the
Yes.
few months, is that money there, or, okay, then it should
Say,
be?
Dave, I'm sorry, and I want, can we do this later? Because I'm going to get 3 dozen emails at least about you're extending your time. And good for you guys to send those to me. So I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but I have to cut you off. Thank you.
number 32.
I'll catch you when we're done, right there.
Yeah. No, sir, we're trying to be fair to all the other folks that have numbers, and we stated at the start of the meeting it would be a 3-minute limit. You were given more time because questions being answered, but right now your turn is done this time.
Hi, I'm Dorothy Bertram, 106-269. My husband and I bought and did a lot of research just like you did. We are farmers from Michigan, and when we found Quail Run, we fell in love with it. So we have been owners here for 16 years. We purchased our property based on Quail Run. We golf 3 or 4 times a week. At our age, 79 years old, we would not be playing Frisbee golf. We certainly do not want our beautiful golf course run over by children, young adults, and the average age for a Frisbee player is 39 years old. My grandson was here a few weeks ago, and he went to 8 different golf courses, Frisbee golf courses. He brought a lunch bag, and I thought it was just he was going to take that for his lunch. That held his Frisbees. There is a Frisbee for every hole. I didn't know that either. My question is, when they throw it, it goes in, errant directions. Will they climb over the fences? Because we're not supposed to get our balls if it goes over the fence. And they're very expensive. My other question was, I got this. Oh, I know. Okay. Del Webb built this community. He had a dream and he had a vision as an affordable retirement community. I get very teary-eyed about this because it means a lot to me. We worked hard to retire in this area. And we don't, we hear the fireworks and we get mad. Who's doing that? We want our community to stay the same. My other question is about liability cost. Have you looked into that? Mm-hmm.
We haven't looked into anything because we don't know if we're doing it.
Okay.
We're waiting for the members to tell us what to do, and you're telling us not to do it.
Well, that's my opinion, and I think there's a lot of us out here that feel the same way because the average age is 39 years old for Frisbee golf. And gender males, there's 93% that play Frisbee and 7% of females that play Frisbee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jean, can I just have a second? Preston, based on everything that's been said here today regarding disc golf, my assumption is you're taking all of this and all of the emails that you've received to the GAC meeting to share with them the strength of feeling around disc golf with the GAC.
Yeah, that's true, plus what the information that I garnered with the Sun City Men's Golf Association last week, and I'll also discuss it with the Ladies Umbrella on Wednesday of this week, prior to Golf Advisory Committee on Thursday.
Okay, thank you. Number?
Number 33?
Okay, fine. Excellent, Lori.
Good morning, Lori Ellingson, 133335. To the directors of RCSC Board, there's a reason why a windshield is much bigger than a rear view mirror. It is much more important to see where you're going rather than where you have been. Times they are changing, and so should your decision-making process and thought process. Albert Einstein is quoted as saying, "The measure of intelligence is the ability to change." Understand the importance of a long-range master plan that will incorporate our mission, vision, and values. If we fail to plan, we plan to fail. Focusing on activities that were popular 65 years ago and refusing to acknowledge that change is necessary will put Sun City into the same category as businesses like Blockbuster Video and tanning salons. Charles Darwin said, "It is not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the most responsive to change." Just as Sun City was the original 55-plus community and first of its kind, Club Med was the original all-inclusive vacation resort. Club Med is still in business because they made many changes to how their resorts are run. Acknowledge the current trends and needs of today, and don't become a victim of Charles Darwin theory, as those that do not adapt to change will not survive. To the senior management, Stephen R. Covey said, "Most people do not listen with the intent to understand, rather than the intent to reply." Get out of your office and adapt the concept of management by walking around. It's amazing what you'll see and observe just by having more of a hands-on approach and actually participating in many of the clubs and activities. Talk with the members as they are participating in various clubs. Talk with the facility attendants as they go about their shift duties. Talk with the cleaning crew and the end users of each facility. They all have a wealth of knowledge and experience to share. Talk with these various people and not to them. Listen and understand. If you adopt the policy of management by walking around and you listen with the intent to understand, you will gain the respect of the members of this community. And to the fellow neighbors and members of this community, change your mindset from the once of small group interests to what is best for the entire community. You get what you work for, not what you wish for. Frederick Neal said it takes both sides to build a bridge. Let's look at our mission, vision, and values and build a strong bridge between the board, the staff, and the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Has everyone who wants to?
No, I have 35. You have 35, Gene, you're 34?
Whoa.
No.
They're 48, wow, cool.
So you went back and pulled a new number, and then other people came in and pulled numbers after you.
I went up and,
What? Yeah, that's what I said. I'm just
do you want me to wait until
Well,
everybody's gone once?
normally we let everyone go through one time before we come back for a second.
Well, that's why I asked you if I was supposed to pick a number.
And thank you that you did that. So we need to reserve a spot for you to come back a second time. But I want to make sure that everyone who wanted to come, who hasn't spoken yet, has an opportunity to do that.
You put the number system in play. You
you have to call the numbers in order. You can't change the rules, right? You put a number system in play. So you got to call the numbers and go
All right.
You can't change the rule right here.
Okay, sorry, this is a new process, we're trying to figure it out. So Gene, are you 34?
They change their rules all the time.
Are you number 34? What's the verdict, guys? Go by the
Well,
numbers.
go by the numbers then.
Come on,
Gene,
we're sorry.
you be next.
the numbers.
No. It's a process, we'll figure it out.
Okay.
So Gene, 3 minutes, please, because there obviously are quite a few other folks who would like to speak.
I will be happy to wait until the end.
Go ahead.
No, just please go right ahead.
Okay, Jean Totten, number 148753. At the board meeting, you talked about Grand, and the general manager talked about the importance of safety and security. So I was concerned about the foundation has also moved up there, and I don't know when you're going to give us information about the foundation, but because there is no facility attendant desk, as there is at other centers, what plans do you have to address safety and security at Grand? I mean, there's nowhere to swipe, so you can't do utilization figures, and the doors are open, from what I understand. You can't lock them. So what are you doing to address the security and safety for Grand?
General Manager D. Lazansky.
Yes, as you know, we have several locations where we use the little discs that are on the back of some badges for people to get in, like at the dog park. So we're working through some issues with our security folks and our database people to get to where we can use cards to get into Grand, and we hope to have that resolved within a couple of months so that we can have the doors locked and people can come in. Now, every time you come up with a solution, it causes other problems. So then there'll be some folks that probably don't like the fact that you have to have a badge to get in there, but that's the direction we're moving for Grand. And as you've noticed, we've also put up some security fence to keep people from cutting through. So we're taking appropriate measures both to harden the perimeter, as they say, as well as increase security to get in the actual doors.
Thank you. The last update that came out mentioned recreation radio. I don't think that it's a confidential matter for me to ask how much that new recreation radio, the equipment and et cetera, new staff, how much did it cost to put this endeavor together? And then, because Tom, you mentioned that the biggest item on the spreadsheet is salaries and wages. Tying into that, I'm wondering about the how many management positions have been hired in the past year. I noticed that in the update, we have someone called a documented process manager. How many other positions have been created? The organization chart on the website hasn't been updated since March of 2024. So can you extrapolate a little on those questions?
Sure.
Go ahead.
So there was no new staff added for the media group. We had the folks working up here in a room next to the sound booth upstairs, next to a transformer. So we moved them downstairs and across the breezeway. So the only staff that was added there was a backup for Alan, because Alan was a one-man band, and so we needed to have someone. So that was nothing to do with the recreation radio. In terms of other staff, besides John, who's the documented process man, and he's a part-time employee at much below market rate, I don't think there were any other ones that added that I recall.
You added no other top management?
No.
Okay.
Matter of fact, we've reduced top management.
Oh, okay. Maybe you can update the org chart. Thank you. Chris is the communication and outreach committee that's working to get with technology going to disband after the website is up and go back to their respective corners?
Yes, they are.
Thank you. And then I just have one other statement, and I don't, excuse me, two. One is golf is a big revenue maker, but it's not self-sustaining. Isn't that true?
Depends how you define. So here, the truth is this. From an operating perspective, does golf raise enough revenue to pay for everyone who works at the golf course and the mower and gasoline and the operating expenses? And the answer to that is yes, it does. What it does not often do, it occasionally does, but it does not always cover its capital expense. That if you have to replace mowers, or you have to replace a maintenance barn, or you have to go out and do something significant like Quail Run, that's PIF money, not the operating dollars from just green fees.
Mowers aren't PIF money, are they?
Well, you're correct. It might be SIF money. Those may not qualify for PIF, 300,000 plus 15 years, those kind of things. But there is still a second capital budget that I'm sure you're aware of. You've worked on this board many years, so that would take care of a variety of other capital expenditures that green fees do not. If you have a really good year in golf, and we've had those years, that you end up with an excess that can go to capital. And we are hoping to see something like that this year, 2025, but we'll see.
Do you know how many years you've had that?
That it's contributed to capital?
Mm-hmm.
Once or twice that I'm aware, twice, at least in the recent experience. It does not.
In all of our years, once or twice?
I'll leave that to Kevin to.
Gene, I can only go back maybe 15 years, but pre-COVID, golf was not generating enough operating excess. As a matter of fact, they were losing money on an operating basis. That math changed pretty dramatically with COVID. And since COVID, we've had a couple years where golf actually generated sufficient excess to pay for the capital, not for the PIF, but for the capital. 2024 was not one of those years. 2024, on an operating basis, golf lost money. That's why we put forth some fairly significant fee increases for 2025. The intention is that golf not only makes an excess from an operating standpoint, but contributes toward, not covers the entire 100%, but contributes towards the capital expenditures for golf.
Thank you. And of course, it's good to note that this community was founded on golf. So we have golf. Oh, go ahead.
Jean, you asked about foundation.
Yes, thank you.
The foundation will be moving to the Grand. The foundation is totally self-supporting. We get no support from RCSC. So we live on our donations. Much of our money that we have has been donated for fee assessments to help our people pay their fee assessments, and we are not touching that money. That money is for fee assessments. So any other donations that we get are what we are using to create a foundation. The foundation owned nothing until a couple weeks ago, where we got some furniture. Now, the next thing we need to get some chairs. And we need to get paper and a copier and envelopes and all that kind of stuff, and we're working on that. So as soon as we can function, we will be in the Grand Center.
So then that means if I was to want to write a check to the foundation, I would need to say where I'd like it to go?
Yes. It can go in two places right now, operating or fee assessments.
Wow, that's great to know.
We will be developing new programs where we'll have more opportunities for more programs. Okay. But not yet. We're not there yet.
Thank you.
Number 35.
And I need to make a quick request. RCSC is providing us a room rent-free, correct?
Maybe.
Good work. Hi, Tom Swenson, 135906. First of all, this is such a good process, and the way you're doing it is a great way. So I just want to give you all kinds of compliments on your openness and your listening and your responsiveness. This is a breath of fresh air. Number two, in the past, full disclosure, I was one of those disc golf riffraff. And I want us all to be very aware of the geriatric disc golf riffraff. Okay, now going on to what I want to say. I'm talking about Sun City players. Number one, y'all are welcome to come to the opening and the run of our next production, 1940s Radio Hour. It kicks off with our first opening night of March 14. So I invite you to all come. That was advertising. Number three, the most important thing for me to say today is if you choose Mountain View, and I've said this for 6 years, if you decide to renovate Mountain View, you must provide us some kind of modest performance area for the 2 years you're going to be kicking us out. And the board, I've heard completely silent. I've heard no one address that. But we need something. Because if you don't perform for 2 years, you'll be building a building that will probably have 50 people who can try to use it. What I'm trying to say is we will lose membership over that 2 years and may not even be functional. Number four. Oh, too many. Oh, never mind. Number five, master plan. Oh, I just want to support the master plan idea that John came up with. And he said one word in there, I think critically said sell at one point. This has to do with promotion and having a strong marketing approach. How do we sell Sun City now, not 60 years ago? And lastly, the number system. That's bizarre. I picked a number coming in at 8:55. Somehow Gene picked a number after that and it was 34. That's a mystery to me. But I also just want to, because I have the time, just people be aware of the crazy kind of conspiracy theory ideas that come up. This board is not into conspiracy anymore. So I just want to say, please hold that at abeyance. Bye.
Thanks, Tom. Number 36. Remember, guys, if you have a number after 36, you can come sit in the front. So that way takes you less time.
Gordon Kohlberg, 31406. I'm here for the Bell Billiard Club, and I have a couple questions. First of all, we were told back in November they were going to come in and they were going to cover 9 pool tables for us. They had money left over. Cool, I like money left over. November came along, December came along, and they said, no, we're going to do it in January because we ran out of money. So now they're going to do it in January. Well, it's February and it's still in here. I requested 10 years ago, and every single time we have a budget request, I put in there that I wish you guys would put $5,000 in a slush fund so if an emergency came up, the billiard club could get money and not have to wait 2 years to get it fixed. No, we still ain't got our billiard tables covered. If you remember Barry Masloff, when he was here, I told Barry that we need 6 new chairs because we took 6 to the metal shop to get fixed. Metal shop couldn't fix them, they threw them out. I asked Barry several times, where's my chairs? He says, I'm looking into it. Now Sam is here. I told Sam, we need 6 new chairs. I'm looking into it. I went to Angela, we need 6 new chairs. They cost too much. Jesus Christ, what's going on here?
Well, when you say cover your billiard tables, do you mean replace billiard tables, or you mean a?
Well, I can see you're not very educated in the billiard thing. It's not like a swimming pool where you jump in the water and you don't wreck the water. These are pool tables. As you use them, you wear them out. Yeah. I've got a pool table back in Wisconsin I cover every year, and I only play on it 6 months. They just wear out. Here we have to wait 2 years to get a table covered. I have asked several times that it be put in the budget that we get 18 tables up at Bell. 9 get covered this year, 9 get covered next year. And it could be put into the budget. You wouldn't have to wait till the end of the year to see if we got enough money left so we can cover your tables. It wouldn't be the same different 9 because some get used more than others.
Okay.
But if we can get 9 covered every year, it could be put in a budget, and I wouldn't have to wait until November to find out if we had money left.
Well, I think what you need to do is talk to Director Collins, who through the COC committee can put your requests into the process so it does officially get budgeted. So all of this has been evolving because of situations like yours, where the clubs have requested something or thought they had requested something, and it seems to fall through the cracks. So this process that we've built for what we call Board Policy 16 would be the way for you to get in the queue officially, so that when money which is allocated through what's called the SIF bucket of funds can get allocated towards your club. So it needs to kind of go through that process, and then you'll be on the sheet and you should be able to get the funds allocated to you. I mean, you never guarantee anything, but if you don't go through the process, you will end up where you are right now of why did we not see anything? Because it didn't go through the process, and when I look at that sheet, I don't see billiards on that sheet. So that's how we want to try to address that, so that all the clubs who are going through that process get a fair opportunity to get a slice of those funds. Director Borski?
Sir, are you the president of the billiard club?
Yes, I am.
Okay, did you submit a budget request to the club's office?
Every year.
You have submitted, okay, I don't have them with me, so I can't.
Every year.
Okay, I will look into it and find out where that budget request is. Do you remember anything, Mike, from the billiards club? I can't say I remember it, but I don't remember if I saw it or not.
There's definitely a new diamond table going in this year. I've got to look at the covering of the tables, and I had a meeting with Sam last week about the chairs. The current chair that was in there is $500 each. It seemed a little steep on the pricing, so we got to do a little more research. I don't want to just spend $500 a piece on the chair, so that's why we haven't just bought the chairs.
Okay, let me do some research on your request, and we'll get back to you.
Thank you.
I may have seen it, I just don't remember it.
Thank you.
Director Ruff?
I may be misremembering, but my memory says that there are way more requests for funds from the clubs than there is money. So just because you requested it doesn't mean you'll get the highest priority. It goes through a list like that. So if we did everything everybody asked for, we'd have to get more income. Thank you.
Ready?
Go ahead.
God, I see what number it is. 37. Really? 37? Okay, let's go with 38.
Susan Bjork, 112650. Now, I have a little bit different perspective from Tom. It's been let's take off 15 minutes for the general. It's been about 2 hours and 15 minutes, and we've only gone through 20 people. So I don't know if that's consistent with before, but I think having people lined up, it went a little faster, so maybe look at past exchange meetings to see what the difference is with how many people we've gone through in 2 hours. It might help, because I know some people have left. And that's the other thing is people that are leaving are passing their numbers to other people. So if they had already spoken, they may come up a second time. So just a couple observations. I do want to say thank you to the board for implementing both a RASCI document and a performance review process. That's standard HR. You want to document performance and make sure you're giving your employee the best opportunity to succeed or addressing areas that need to be addressed. And so I appreciate that. I'm shocked that we haven't had it before. So the one thing I'm up here for is something that I had an issue with, and then of course came across social media, and it's just a little bit of a concern. It's not as major as some of the other concerns, but you know, we want people to know that we're a nice community, that we have nice people living here, and that, you know, we're courteous, and we want people to feel like they want to come here. And we've been putting up signs. I'm going to read them. And in the beginning, you also state this, and I'm wondering if there's a different way we could word this. But we do not tolerate verbal or physical abuse towards any member, guest, visitor, or employee staff. Violators may be asked to leave, face disciplinary action, or arrest RCSC. So my point about this, there's 4 of them in the Lakeview boardroom. I want to know what the heck happened in there that caused you to put up 4. But unfortunately, you know, you can look at Sun City West, and the way that they chose to do it was be kind, courteous, and respectful. And you could say those that are disrespectful or abusive may be asked to leave or such and such, but you can change the communication so that it's a little more welcoming. I mean, there was one lady on there that said somebody hit her with a cane and threw a cup at her. I mean, what kind of people do we have living here? This is crazy. You have to deal with those individual incidents. But seeing these signs all over is not good for this community. So I don't know who made the decision to put them up or verbalize it like that, but it's just not, it's not welcoming. So. And I brought this up with the LRP, but didn't go anywhere. And I know we're concerned with communication in the LRP. So that's.
39.
Hi, Alex Pannone, 140359. We talk about transparency. I've been here for 8 years, and I've requested 20, 30 different things on projects we've done, and every single board member has said no. I've requested RFPs, I've requested budget information, I've requested when the bids come in to look at the bids. We're going to do a $6 million renovation at Quail Run. No one has seen the plan. That they gave them a high level of 1 page, 1 page, 1 page. At every facility that we get a bid and we do a project, there should be a book there with everything that's going to go on there. No one wants transparency. We need to see what's going on. Is the number $6 million at Quail? We don't know. This is the rumor that we're hearing. So what we should do to really want to be transparent, the Quail Run bid is done. I assume was what I heard. Put a book out there. Let the people walk in and let the people see everything that's going on. No one knew about Frisbee golf until they gave a high-level book with one line item in there. We don't know what the cost is. We've heard $100,000. We've heard $80,000. Today we heard $18,000. We need to get better at what we do. And then the second thing is, we turned the Golf Advisory Committee into a good old boys club. Last year, we did away with the term limits because Steve Collin was conned into, we can't get any people to come here. So for the rest of our life, we're going to have the same people running the Golf Advisory Committee because that's what they wanted. You changed the bylaws to give power to people forever. So now there's no more term limits on the Golf Advisory Committee. How crazy is that? I sent email after email after email to people, and no one cared. Now I'm making it public to you guys. You need to change it back where you're going to get new people in here, and don't listen to them that you're not going to get people. That was their excuse. And then the third thing is security at Mountain View. I was told that eventually it will be addressed. You can just walk into Mountain View through open gates. At Marionette, we closed an exit because they said people were sneaking in. We have one facility that's wide open. We have another facility that is prison. I yield my time to the next person.
I'd like to address, sir, about the Greens committees.
Yeah.
This is what board policy says about it. The term of each member will be 3 years. If there are more than 3 male or 3 female candidates for a Greens committee, then an election will be held and conducted by the respective Greens committee. Ballots will be collected at the pro shop or by a Greens committee.
That's not correct.
Sir, this is our board's policy. It's the current one right here. You can say it's changed, but you're not correct.
Brian, you want to
Sorry.
take that?
I believe the part that was removed was they were restricted to a maximum of 2 3-year terms prior. Now, we're still holding elections, so if there are people out there that want to run, the people that have held the positions before will not necessarily be voted in.
Sure.
Put the term limit back in.
Oh.
Because it's never going to work.
Okay, we'll discuss it at the Gulf Advisory. Thank you.
Number 40.
Art Van Ness, 168188. We talked about adding income. I was wondering about having like a home show that would generate income. You have, like you go to Civic Center or whatever, if that would be something the board would entertain. I know it would take a lot of work. You'd have to set up a committee or whatever, but.
Art, good idea. To have something like that would have to be in a room this size.
Absolutely.
Now, I'm not saying we're not going to look at these things. I'm not saying no. But I'm saying if we put it in here for a day or two, then who do we kicked out? So we have to be careful.
I know. I'm just putting it out there for a source of income.
Sure.
We talked a little bit last month or 2 months ago when I was here about, the golf fees, the deficit on the golf courses. We talked a little bit about, Mr. Kleiss talked about number of rounds versus just open numbers. So I applaud you on that. I just want to keep that in the forefront. The master plan, part of that, I think is ultimately got to be part of Sun City's plans for the future. Part of the problem being Sun City is landlocked, right? So similar situation in hometown Saratoga Springs, they were landlocked. So what they were doing was going up, building 3-story buildings, whatever. So I don't know if that's going to fit into the plans here, but that's something that may have to be looked at to facilitate putting in the pack. Stuffing it into a place that's already packed may not be a good idea because you're going to lose amenities that been part of Sun City for 70 years or whatever. I want to applaud the board for doing what's right and keep doing what is right. Not right for you, but right for everybody here. The other part that I want to touch on again is the budget. You talk about deficits. but you don't talk about the overruns. How were the overruns handled? Were they just pushed through by the board? Was the board aware of overruns on budgets? Were projects taken on without approval by the board? Things like that. So there is a difference between overruns and deficits. I understand deficits very well. You can't control deficits so much. You know, the weather, the golf fees. I've heard people mad because the golf fees went up so high that I'm not going to play golf this, you know. So overruns are a different ball game altogether. If something goes over by a certain amount, how is that approached?
Well, I think we had both. We had deficits and we had overruns. We had deficits in the sense that because weather was so severe, income was cut back dramatically.
That's out of your hands, I understand.
And then we had overruns in the sense that weather was so severe that in order to keep golf courses alive, there was additional expenses that had to be incurred in order to keep enough water on the courses to keep them alive, not necessarily green, but alive. So we didn't just look at that and say, throw up our hands. I mean, we looked at what are the levers that we have that we can try to control this situation. And I think when we went through this a little bit earlier today, we went from like a $400,000 deficit to $9,000. So we did look at levers that we could control, and we controlled those expenses. We also had, fortunately, a very good December. Weather was much better. Golf revenues were much improved. And so that helped us close that gap. And so and so I always wanted to say, you know, we are just not going to go down that path again. However, there's always that however. I can't control inflation and I can't control the weather. And we are very exposed to vagaries of weather. If the weather is not conducive to outdoor activities, we have a revenue challenge. But by the same token, we've tried to address that in let's watch these financial statements faster. So we've charged Mr. McCurdy in turning those statements around quicker every month so that we can see the trends that might be happening. We've removed the ability of some of the frontline employees to incur expenses without that being overseen by their supervisors. Again, cost control. And then the big lever was employees and benefits. And we were explaining earlier, it's not a hiring freeze, but it is a hiring slowdown. So that, and there are consequences, as I was trying to allude to earlier, that some of the things that we anticipate or expect that might have gotten done by those employees had we been giving them the full hours that they were expecting, those things may not get done because their hours are being cut or employees just aren't going to be there to do those things with the purpose of trying to control those expenses to make sure we stay within budget. So no one is more frustrated about how last year turned out than me. But we did step in there and try to address that situation so that as best we can, that will not happen again. I can't control, again, inflation or weather, but we do have other levers we can try to control so that when other things happen, hopefully we can address those. The roof at Sundial falls through into that swimming pool. That's a tough one. So sometimes things happen that you don't anticipate, and they have to come from your reserve funds. But generally speaking, we have a budget. Management has been charged with, and they have got that message loud and clear. That budget is just almost cut in stone. I do not want to be explaining to the membership why that we didn't do this or make a budget unless there's a really good explanation that was beyond our control. So I say this again to the membership publicly. Budgets are important, and we intend to stay in those budgets as best we can for 2025.
With that being said, you know, you defend the budget, I understand, but you go from $1.8 million to, you know, $600,000, and now you're down to $9,000. Numbers don't lie. You were $1.8 million over budget. Where did that $1.8 million come in? $1 million of it being deficit from golf.
Well,
where's the other $800,000?
Well, so budgets are kind of a fiction in the sense we hope to reach some number. It's a plan, and sometimes you just don't get there. It's not that you spent more or earned less. It's you just hoped to reach some certain level, which we did not do. So it looks like, wow, you must have lost a ton of money. Well, we lost $9,000. That is the bottom line. And then as Kevin or someone was mentioning earlier, there were other sources of interest income that actually we had more cash come in than we were anticipating. So net, we actually had a little more cash come in than we thought, but that's other income. Those are extraordinary items. Those are not things I'm going to count on in a budget. In a budget and in my operating of this organization, we are expecting certain levels of revenue and certain levels of expenses and a certain level of excess at the end of the day. And we are going to get there, or you will vote me out. It's that simple.
Your time's done, Tom.
Okay, thank you.
41. Going once, going twice. 42. Okay. Anybody else in between 42 and 48? What number?
47.
47, okay, anybody in between 42 and 47? 47 it is, let me get there.
So, who is still out there that we haven't called your number?
Oh, come on. God, this
Susan
is so
has one.
annoying.
Susan again, okay?
Is she first?
You're first.
You're first.
47,
Okay.
she's 48.
Okay, I'm going to be really quick. Maggie Brooks, and my number is 174647. I'm the president of RTTY. And the reason I came up and decided that I wanted to address all of you, I've met a couple of you. I have not met most of you, and I'd love to. I thank you for what you're doing, but I do have some concerns. I'm just going to make one statement about the budget. I am a corporate accountant in Seattle. I am retired and I do live here, but there's a couple of accounts that I still hold. I have never, in 26 years, for one corporation, been in the red. Ever. I have a 20% buffer in place in every aspect of this corporation. I do not go into the red. So I do question when you guys are in the red. How are you in the red? Seattle gets, in climate weather, we get rain, we get snow. So I have built that in there so that they never, ever go backwards. I would love to help on that. I'll be there. Thank you. Also, I've never met Mr. Dermeyer, and again, I apologize if I pronounce your name incorrectly. Okay. I I do have some concerns when it comes to the clubs, especially mine. I think there is a lack of communication between the club office and the presidents. It angers me that I'm told one thing, I pass it on to my members, and then come to find out from you today, talking to one of my members, that that's not quite the way it is. So that's something that has to be addressed. We've got to get the communication correct, because I do not like telling my members something that is incorrect, that puts egg on my face, and I don't like that. So the one thing, again, I'd like to address with you, I know my time is clicking, and I will sit down at the end of the clock. Janitors here are hard to work with. I don't know how many times I've had to come in here and help set up tables and chairs. I don't know how many times I've complained about that, and all I hear is, we're understaffed, people have quit, but it's not my job. You don't pay me to set up your tables and chairs. So why am I on the floor hucking to get that done for my members? I'm not okay with that. And we have parties over here that come in also. When I'm running an event on a Saturday night, we have parties over here with children. My members are allowed to bring alcohol in. How can we have members, or how can we have parties next door with children? Done. Thank you.
Rocking Through the Years.
Rocking Through the Years Club.
Okay.
Thank you.
48?
Should there be a wall in between?
Hello, Faith Putman, 169322. First of all, I want to thank the 4 members that reached out to me, especially in regards to the lake owners. I would like to go back and talk a little bit about the master plan. The very first time I got up here, I suggested that we do a master plan. And I still believe that that needs to be done, because a master plan puts in a projection of costs, and it also puts a projected idea. Maybe it does need to change, like you said, when you put a master plan in effect, tweaking something here and there, but I do think that a master plan gives us a vision forward and also projects the amount of money we spend. As I said in my letter to the Independent, we moved here because of the amount of amenities that were here. That was one of the things that sold me that I belonged here. And so while some people play pickleball, others play lawn bowls. I'm not only a lawn bowl player, but I like to play pickleball. I love to golf. I stopped by the China shop to see what that was all about. And I don't think any one person should be putting a special interest that lawn bowl is any less than pickleball. So that's what prompted me to get up here. I wasn't even going to get up and speak. But I think it's important that we look at all the different clubs, and maybe a pickleball player doesn't know anything about lawn bowls, but you can't have lawn bowls constantly on the same playing field, because the grass needs to recover. So, and of course, there's people who don't know anything about billiards, but to come up here and to try to say one club is more important than another, I just don't agree with that. And the other thing that I wanted to thank the board for was giving us access to the architect people. I went to 2 different events that the architects presented. One of the very first one, I asked the owner of the architect that was there what prompted PAC to be voted to put at Lakeview, and he said we were directed. We were given a criteria that only Lakeview could meet. He said it had to have a view, it had to have all kinds of other things. And so I went to the second event, and the second architect said that the best, maybe not the best place, he said there was all different kinds of areas that it could be presented, like Bell and maybe Sundial, maybe Mountain View, but he said the cheapest would be to renovate Mountain View. Yes, they would have to go through and look at the asbestos and that kind of thing, but that's what they said. And on all of those boards that I looked at, almost the majority of people on those things wrote Mountain View. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what the architectural firm, presents to you, and I do hope that you present it as the architectures truly present to you. So thank you. I'm looking forward to that.
Okay, thank you, Faith.
49? 49? What number are you?
I'm 42. So remember, I was letting them go before me because I
Because you were
took somebody
second.
else's number.
Okay, I
Yeah.
misunderstood.
Okay,
So I was trying to be courteous,
thank you.
like I suggested in the little placards that we have all over. Anyways, 112650, Susan Bjork. So I wasn't going to come up, but there's a couple things. We're hearing Plan M all over again, and these new directives that came out from the board seem a little odd. But anyways, that's not what I came up to say. I think with the financials, I know that there are some of you working on more of a layman's explanation as to what happened. And what I think is confusing is you're talking about this 9K, but that's not looking at the total budget. We had $3.2 million in the bank. There was a 600 shortfall in November, so that means we spent $3.8 million. I understand the maintenance is in the maintenance line from the 20 million deferred, what have you, but we spent that 3.8 million, okay? December you made up, but you're talking about this 9K under, but we're really 300 in the hole last year, if you're looking at apples to apples. And so what I think people are confused at is where did the 3.2 million go? If you could just explain, even if it's, hey, we didn't budget properly and we had to dip into our funds, but it's not just a mere, we're only 10K off. We dipped significantly into our reserve funds. And so that's what needs to be explained. Well, we hired this, and Matthew said that he didn't have more middle management, but he hired a center's leader over the center's leaders. So I don't understand that hire, but the bottom line is you need to explain what happened there and not like try to shove it under the rug or whatever. I'm not saying that's what you're trying to do, but that's what the appearance is, because there was clearly 3.2 million there last year, and now we're 600K or 300K in the hole. So I think you just need to explain what happened to those funds and why we were short with revenue coming in. And the SIF and PIF explanation, there's still confusion around that because interest income, as you mentioned, Chris, is supposed to go right back into that account. And so where do we have other funds that would generate $300,000 to make up that $600,000 loss? Not only that, the additional 3.2 that we had in the bank. That's where I think you're missing it, because you're not comparing apples to oranges to what was disclosed in the November statement. So just food for thought when you're creating that layman's terms document or communication for 2024 finances. Thanks.
Okay. Where are we? Has everyone spoken who wishes to speak?
Okay. So nobody, no 48, no 49, going once, going twice?
Okay.
No, she was 49, right? Okay. All right.
And we can talk later, Susan, if you wish. I unfortunately have to bug out here at noon, but so let's wrap up for this session then. Our next meeting of the Board of Directors is February 27th, right here at Sundial at 9 a.m. And the next exchange will be March 10th, here also at 9 a.m. And then, as we were earlier discussing, the annual meeting will be March 11th, right here at 6 p.m. So there being no further business and without objection, our meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much for attending.
Thank you. She's there, she's right there. I have a question for Maggie.
This is a copyrighted production of the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated and is intended for the sole purpose of informing our Recreation Center members. Any duplication, copying, transmission, broadcast, or use, including electronic and social media, is strictly prohibited without the prior written consent from the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated. Thank you for watching.